Well, The Big Show may be a family show. The Big Show is not. Listener discretion is advised.
Make it count, play it straight. Don't look back, don't hesitate. When you go big.
Show. Hello and welcome to The Big Show, a podcast we have always done and will always continue to do forever. I'm Zach Horowitz.
I'm Mark Greene.
And I'm Harrison Bloom.
We're back!
We
are back.
Revisiting the first episode of a show that we talk about every week on our famous podcast, The Big Show,
Yes.
which has always been the name of this podcast.
Oh, there's so much I forgot about this show. Almost everything.
man.
I know. It's like I'm gonna pretend that this is the first time I have ever watched any episode of this show.
Right.
I think that would be a fun bit if we just
Yeah.
pretend we've never seen it before.
As a bit, we'll pretend this is our first time watching this show. Any of this show.
Yeah, exactly.
The Big Show.
Oh, it'll be so
Yes.
hilarious for our millions of fans.
Yeah, so seeing as, we have seen this for the first time, I think we should give a little explanation of what the show is. As the title suggests, this is a sitcom starring WWE superstar The Big Show.
The title kind of explains it all. It's a show. It's a family sitcom starring The Big Show, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I was surprised by the amount that his wrestling didn't factor into the show.
That's the first thing I was going to say.
His bigness did.
His
The show is not about
all
him as
the
a wrestler.
time.
Yes, he is a very large man.
Yeah, but the show could have been about any large man.
Yeah. Literally, you could have swapped him with anyone.
He could have been playing George Bigley, the big man. Who is big and tall and has a family. It is weird just how much it doesn't have to do with wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first question about the world building of this show, the complex nature of the lore, is this the Big Show the actor or the Big Show the character? Because that's a good question, right? Wouldn't they want to answer
the
that?
line is definitely I feel like there's not really a clear distinction because his wife refers to him as the Big Show and not by his real name.
You're asking, is this a Curb Your Enthusiasm styled improvised thing where they just threw him in there and everything that happens is just
is he
the Big Show
playing
going with it?
himself or is he playing the Big Show?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think. I mean, well, his wife does refer to him as the Big Show and not by his real name. But at the same time, we don't know. Maybe the Show family had a baby a while ago, and they're like, oh, this kid, this Show child, he's gonna be a big boy. We should name him after
The
that.
Big Show.
So his name is just Big Show.
Here's my grasp on it, and I feel like this might be faulty because I think the entire time we were watching it, I was trying to come up with rationalizations for things, and my trying to logic it made me misrepresent things. But I feel like he is playing a fictionalized version of his fictional persona.
Mm-hmm.
They don't ever, as someone who is not a wrestling fan and knows nothing about wrestling, I don't know what his real name is.
Me
They
neither.
never say it on the show.
Never say it on the show.
His wife refers to him as Show or Big Show. Her first line as she walks in and says, "How's my Big Show?" And then she pats his daughter on the head and says, "And my little Show," her daughter as well. Here's my question. Here's my question though.
Yes.
It's quick. Is
Yes.
Show their last name?
That's a good
I was gonna
question.
say, I'm just gonna assume that his full name is the Big Show. So
Yeah.
it's in a classroom roster or whatever when he was a kid. It's just Show, the Big.
Preferred name.
Well, okay. Yeah. Is his first name Big as his middle name, Show is his last name?
Sure.
You sound like you didn't want to put a lot of thought into that very valid question, Zach.
It's because I didn't want. It was a quick question. I don't know what you expected me to do.
No. But no, so they never answer that question.
I will say us trying to get a handle on this is appropriate because this is the pilot episode.
Yeah.
But it is not called the pilot. It is called Prototype. this is a weird machine that's been hastily cobbled together from disparate elements. And it's trying to function, and we're trying to make sense of it. We are observing this prototype and seeing where it succeeds and fails. And someday we will have the Big Show Mark II.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I expected it to have to do with like a science fair or like something with machines, but no, the writer was just like, it's a prototype episode. I'll do another draft later, and they never changed the title.
Yep. This arc doesn't really make sense. We'll get back to that.
Anyway, should we actually get started with the episode?
In an attempt to try to make sense of this, because I do want to put out my governing theory or feeling about this show. Yes. And then we can embark on it.
Yeah.
There's another sitcom on Netflix that I've watched a lot of. I don't know if you guys were aware of Fuller House. It was a sequel to Full House.
I'm not aware.
I heard about it.
Can you please explain?
I wasn't so familiar with it. Yeah.
I've seen some of it, like into the third season, I think, as of release. And that show is kind of bizarre because it's like the sitcom Full House, but just cranked to a different one notch to the left. It's you got to squint at it. It feels like it should just be Full House, but it's its own weird thing.
Yeah.
This show is bizarre in a different way.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because it's almost a very normal sitcom.
It's surprisingly generic.
Yeah, there's a dad and he has a family full of women, and he's trying to figure out how to be a father to his daughters.
That's it. That's the entire show.
Yeah. And then all this weird shit starts happening with like, we'll get into it, but ghosts, a piece sit-in that blows up happening in one of his children's bedroom. Like, the A plot is extremely ordinary. The B plot is fucking insane.
Yeah. I'd also like to mention, like you said, there's a lot of it that's just very generic. And, like, they had the perfect opportunity to use, like, Big Show's WWE theme as, like, their theme song. And they didn't. It was just some very generic sounding thing.
Zach is very upset about this.
I don't even remember what it was.
Is, like, the WWE involved in this?
I don't know. I'll look it up. You guys vamp for a bit.
Yeah. Well, there's this, I think, happened with a lot of shows of an era. I mean, I'd like it to have a good theme song, but I feel like a lot of shows don't spend as much time on their theme songs nowadays as they might have in the past.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Maybe now, let's see how far we are into recording. Oh, that's not as far as I thought we were.
So let's begin with the first scene.
Yes, we'll begin at the beginning.
With one of the only proper wrestling jokes, which is where he's braiding his daughter's hair, and he says...
but the beginning is his eldest daughter from a previous relationship, Lola.
Oh, right.
Is on a plane.
Hold on. Before we start with this, you would ask the question, is the WWE involved with this? On Wikipedia, WWE Studios is listed as one of the production companies involved in the Big Show show.
Yes, of course.
So they were involved. They own the rights.
They own the rights, and they didn't use the theme song of the one professional wrestler in the show.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like there were a bunch of professional wrestlers and they had to choose.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention before we start, this episode was directed by Phil Lewis, a.k.a. Mr. Mosby.
Hey. That's why there wasn't any running in his lobby in this episode.
That's true.
Exactly. No running in the lobby.
Not one person ran through a lobby.
No, as one might say, hooligans.
Why didn't we watch The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody instead?
Next time we do a special episode, that we should do something like that. That would be fun.
Is that going to be our next in between seasons, as we do in between seasons of the Big Show?
Yes.
A filler episode.
Our normal show.
Yes. Anyways, the actual episode.
We begin with the Big Show's. I keep wanting to call the character the Big Show. The Big Show's daughter Lola from a previous relationship is flying to Florida to move in with him because her mother is in Paris. No, her luggage is in Paris. In Brussels. Yes, she's moving to Belgium because Dorothy, the lady she meets on the plane, asks, is she in the waffle business? And that is the type of humor of this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to say, I feel like this opening scene, there was a joke that I was completely expecting them to go for, and then they didn't do it because they're sitting down and like Lola's in the aisle seat, Dorothy's in the window seat. The middle seat is still there. So I thought they were going to make a whole joke about like, oh, the Big Show's here and he's on a plane and he's stuck in the middle seat, but he's really big. What are they going to do? And then they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And for a show so concerned with his bigness, it feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
That man has had to do a lot of flying over the years. He probably has a lot of jokes about it.
I don't know. I just wanted to explain my frustration with that scene.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Well, there is a joke where Lola's talking to Dorothy and says, my dad's an entertainer. And Dorothy goes, like Celine Dion. And then there's a montage of clips of the Big Show being a wrestler. Mm-hmm. And Lola says, yeah, like Celine Dion. And that's kind of the extent of the wrestling of it all.
Yeah. Kind of disappointing, if I'm being completely honest.
Mm-hmm. He could have just been a guy.
He could have been a big guy, George.
Big.
I mean, there's one scene where it factors in because of his celebrity status. I mean, that kind of that element of it factors in a couple of times.
Yes.
But like he never has to wrestle anybody. He never makes jokes about it, except for like one or two times.
He could just be like a really tall stand-up comedian.
We'll get there, but he's tackled to the ground by one of his daughters at one point. And he's like, ugh, that hurt. And I'm like, aren't you used to this?
The first thing you had to learn how to do was learning how to take a fall.
Yeah.
You gotta sell it.
Yeah, like the first thing they learned how to do is to like fall without getting hurt. So you'd think
I guess he wasn't prepared.
He wasn't prepared. You're right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think he was probably just like faking it because you gotta like sell it and act like you're actually hurt.
Wait, Zach. So you're saying he was lying to his daughter?
Yeah, because Lola asked him if he was hurt.
And saying that he was hurt when he wasn't hurt?
We'll get there when we get there. We'll get there when we get there.
Okay,
Anyways,
we'll get there.
The plane lands in Tampa. They're in Tampa. And Lola's really excited because she's going to have her own room and she's going to be on the women's hockey team.
Yes.
And it's going to be great.
It's going to be so cool.
Yep. And
meanwhile,
and that's Lola's stuff. Yep.
Yes. Meanwhile, the Big Show is on his way to pick her up, and he's really concerned.
Actually, meanwhile, the Big Show is braiding some hair.
Whoa!
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes, he is braiding some hair.
The Big Show is braiding a little girl's pigtail. Guys,
what
this
comedy?
show?
This is the introduction to the Big Show's family and his daughter. That's like low key a serial killer.
Yep.
Well, I've been watching a lot of Futurama recently. I've been rewatching a lot of Futurama, and I feel like the most similar character to the Big Show's youngest daughter, JJ, is Bender from Futurama.
Yeah,
because she just loves crime.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, like we come in. Yeah. I mean, we've got JJ, who's like this loving crime but also kind of annoying younger sibling, and then we also have Mandy, who's like the older sibling, and she's really sad about about the fact that Lola's gonna have to take her room. And I feel like I remembered this dynamic before. It's kind of like this other Netflix series I've been watching. What was it called? The Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit. I remember that in the Queen's Gambit. But you know what it's also similar to? This other Netflix show called Fuller House.
Whoa.
Did Mr. Mosby also direct Fuller House?
No. Look, these are two completely different shows. The Big Show is a family sitcom about a sort of unconventional family. 3 children of the same gender, 3 different ages. And, you know, it's kind of a normal family life. All the rooms in the house are taken, of course. So it's kind of, the house is full. But then some new person moves in and it becomes a little more full, a little more, what's the word for more full? It's a more inhabited house.
More inhabited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Inhabitor house.
Yes. I think it's also important to mention just like it's very funny to me, and you notice it right away. The size difference between the Big Show and literally everyone else in this show.
Well, Zach, that's the whole premise of the show.
I know, but like even more so, like IMDb has like IMDb trivia. Here we go. Favorite segment. The Big Show is 7 feet tall, and his youngest daughter is only 4'1". So that's fun.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
He's a very big boy.
That must be a bitch for the cameraman, getting a good angle when one of your characters is 7 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
But again, it's like he's so big, but he's just a guy that's big. He could just be like a really big ventriloquist or something.
Could be a show about a big ventriloquist would be great. His daughter could sit on his knee and she'd look like a puppet.
His daughter's the puppet.
They'd probably do that at one point in this show, right?
Oh god.
Oh god. If not, can that be our spinoff for this episode?
Yes, big ventriloquist.
Is that the Big Show moves from Tampa to Vegas and becomes a ventriloquist with his daughter?
No, Zach. This is a completely unrelated big ventriloquist.
Yes. Still played by the Big Show. Or maybe
He's still
not.
played by the Big Show.
Just
yeah. It's the same actors. It's the same actors, but it's completely unrelated.
Yeah.
Over his regular mustache, he has a bigger fake mustache.
yeah, like a twirly
Yes.
one. Yeah.
But the Big Show is nervous to pick up Lola alone.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do it alone.
For some reason.
So he wants his wife to come with him.
Yeah, he wants his wife to come with him to do it, which, like, I guess that plays into things because his thing this episode is kind of like, things are so different now that Lola's here. He doesn't know how to be a father to her when he's been raising 2 other girls
His
in
whole
person.
life. Yeah.
This isn't like he has a line about, I've been a FaceTime parent for so long. I don't know how to do it with her here. And it's like, you have 2 other children.
I mean, every child's different, but like, it's not like he's new. It's not like he's been single the whole time.
I think the only other important thing in this kind of first home scene, other than establishing the daughters, the wife says, the Big Show's wife, Mrs. Show, says that she has this big opportunity because she's trying to sell this house where this old lady used to live before she died. And the Big Show says, isn't that house haunted? And she says, that's just a myth that turned out to be true.
Yeah.
And
There's a haunted house.
We
in the show.
return to like, this is a haunted house. Like, she's on the phone saying, there aren't ghosts in this house. It's ghost singular. It's one ghost. But not enough time is spent on the fact that there are ghosts in this universe.
I would like to say that supports my theory that this is the WWE universe, because then we could have like the Undertaker being an actual undead professional wrestler who shows up at the Big Show's house.
I just want to see like the Big Show is just having a fun time with his family. They're all just like hanging out, watching TV and eating in the living room, and all of a sudden the lights go out and you just hear the Undertaker's fucking gong. That would just like immediately change the entire. I would love it.
And the whole time the Big Show is like scared of him because he's wrestled him, but that was just for the stage. Behind the scenes, he's like fucking terrified that the Undertaker's gonna kill him.
Because I was thinking maybe this was a universe where like there's a team of like firemen sort of people who take care of hauntings. They'd be like a bunch of comedians from the 80s, and they'd I don't know what you'd call it. They'd be busting ghosts, I guess.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like in Harry Potter.
Yeah, oh, that's what I was thinking of, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And then in the 3rd season of the show, they can replace all the guys with a new team of female firemen who hunt ghosts, and then every character
the internet
in the show
will get
gets
very
super
angry.
mad.
Yeah, the internet will get very angry, but at least it'll have Chris Hemsworth.
Yes.
Anyway, what else happens in this show? It's hard to describe this show. The Big Show.
Yeah.
We're 20 minutes into recording and we haven't really gotten
I
past
feel like
the
we
first
haven't
scene.
really.
Yeah, you know what I think to gather our thoughts and to get more context, I'm gonna make a call. I'm just gonna call in a friend. 1 sec.
Okay, yeah, sure. I don't know who this friend is.
Gentlemen.
But... Oh my god, is
he's
that
here.
WWE superstar The Big Show?
He's here.
Tis I.
Oh my god!
Mr. Show.
Welcome.
Please, please. Call me Big.
Mr. Show, are your friends Bob and David here?
That's a very good joke.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought you'd appreciate that, Big Show.
Why aren't you on the writing staff of my show, The Big Show Show?
Oh,
We never got the call.
Never got the call. But Mr. Show,
Yes.
we've been sitting here for 20 minutes. We've barely described the episode, and we've just been trying to make sense of it. Why did you make this show The Big Show Show?
I'm glad you asked, Mark. You see, my heart will always be with the squared circle, but I have to be completely honest with you. My artistic ability felt squandered, in a way, by the McMahons. I've always had higher ambitions for my career.
Yes.
I felt like a multicam sitcom format would be the proper way to express myself artistically.
Makes sense.
By the way, Mr. Show, can I call you Mr. Show?
No, you may not.
Okay.
Mr. Big Show.
Yes.
I just want to
yes.
say that I loved you as Captain Insano and Adam Sandler's The Water Boy.
Well, thank you. I'm particularly proud of that project.
I know, it was great. Highlight of the film.
Mr. Show.
I appreciate that. Yes.
Mr. Big Show.
Yes.
Are there any other keys you can give us as to what this show is and why it exists?
I'll say this. I was given lots of money to make this program. Like a stupid amount of money
Yes.
to make this show.
Stupid amount.
So I don't have any key insight into why I did the show other than they paid me dollar bills.
That
Respect
makes
the grind.
sense.
Gotta secure the bag.
Congratulations on your big paycheck.
As your daughter JJ says in this episode, hustle don't stop, bro.
Yeah. That'll work.
You gotta secure the bag somehow.
Well, on that callback, I believe now is my time to say adieu.
Thank you, Mr. Show. I'm so
Thank you,
glad
Mr.
you
Big
came.
Goodbye,
Show.
Mr. Show. Thank you for popping in.
Bye.
Wow, guys, The Big Show.
Big
on
show,
our podcast.
everybody.
Oh my god, round of applause.
Wow, we finally got a celebrity on our podcast.
Yep.
We finally have an actual special guest. Oh, it's wonderful.
There's a short scene where his family does a whole horror
Yeah,
play
that
scenario.
was very weird. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, what the heck
Yeah,
was
well,
that?
I think I'm struggling to remember the setup, but it's something like, I know what'll cheer you up. Our classic family bonding ritual, and it's his wife and his middle daughter in the living room, and then the Big Show runs in with JJ on his shoulders in a trench coat and starts going like, Big JJ will destroy you. I'm sorry, I know we just had him on. My impression isn't great.
Yeah, I think it was also a thing where it's like Mandy, who's the middle daughter, the older daughter of the two, is like a doctor or something like that, and the mom is like a nurse. It's like some weird scenario that's like not
they're doing
explained.
a whole like horror movie shtick, like
Yeah,
a B
like a-
Yeah.
50s B horror movie.
Like, oh, it's
No.
the gigantic monster. Ah,
Attack of the gigantic toddler. She's not a toddler.
And then they go to pick up Lola at the airport,
Yep.
and JJ also sneaks into the car as well.
JJ stows away. I do want to say at the beginning of this episode, I thought JJ's thing, I thought her character trait was just like, she's a big wacky kid. I thought that's what they were going for. Sort of like the classic thing they do with young characters where they're just sort of like wacky, and it's like, hey, a kid's not supposed to be like worldly or cool.
I know, yeah, I thought they were gonna do that thing that they do in like that other Netflix series, The Crown.
The Crown, yeah.
With the little kid.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
And then as it goes on, it is just established, no, JJ's thing is crime.
Yep.
Yes. She very quickly goes from like, oh, weird quirky kid to actual criminal.
She's a will criminal.
Yep.
Will criminals doing will crimes.
That's our next spinoff, Will Criminal.
Will criminals.
Will criminal. There's also a nice little scene where they're at the airport and this one like cop or security guard.
Officer Lance Johnson. I'm sorry.
Officer Lance Johnson. Thank you, Mark.
He shares his name.
Notices him and he's like, "Hey, you're that wrestler guy. You're John Cena." Which, like, by the way, how would you even know if you saw John Cena? You can't see him.
Duh.
That's like the whole thing. So how would you even know? John Cena could be in this room right now, and we would have no idea. Because you can't see him.
I can always feel him watching me. Always.
Yeah, he's always here. Watching. Waiting. And you never know when he's going to strike.
There he is!
So Officer Lance Johnson.
I have so many notes and so many of them that I want to skip over.
Oh my god. Also, that name drop is an obvious character setup, right? Like Lance Johnson's going to come back in another episode, and
I hope so.
I
hope he's a shining star.
Officer Lance Johnson is the Big Show's
He is
best
a shining
friend.
star of this episode.
Yeah.
I do also want to mention before this, they meet Lola in the airport. There's like confetti. People are clapping for the Big Show because he's holding Lance Johnson in his arms like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Is,
that's a very weird thing. There are so many weird things in the show. I don't mean to like move things along too fast, but I know we're almost a half hour into recording and we are like not even halfway through the episode.
Oh, yeah, no,
So
right,
I'm trying to keep us moving a little bit.
Yes.
But yes, that's a very good thing to acknowledge. The Big Show carries a man in his arms.
He also acknowledges that he knows that he's a cop, but he's never felt so safe. He's never felt safer than when he was in the arms of one Big Show.
Yep. But they get home. Lola's complaining about the flight and the airplane. JJ says, don't get me started on the food. She has a classic material bad airline food.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad they didn't keep going with that.
Yes, the next important thing to happen is Mandy has staged a sit-in. She has chained herself to her bed and she is sitting in because she is not going to give up her room, no sir.
Mm-hmm.
No, sir.
No, sir.
And I guess her parents are the Big Show and Mrs. Show are just sort of like, okay.
I mean, I would just not let her do that.
Yeah. They immediately go, okay, Lola, I guess you're sleeping with JJ for now.
I'd also like to mention that Mandy's also live streaming this, and this is a big point later in the episode, but it becomes like very popular on social media. Like this gains some serious ground.
Yeah.
Well, JJ says she tweets about it from the Big Show's Twitter account.
Yeah.
And he's a celebrity. I know we were questioning that while watching the episode. How did it get so big? But that's kind of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, it's not that how did it get big? It's just why? Why did this very small thing?
Yeah, like everyone seems bizarrely into the internal logic.
Everyone's bizarrely invested
Mandy.
into this one girl having her own room.
Well, you see, this is a contemporary show. So it's got to be about streaming and virality. Look, they made this in what? Was this 2020, 2019?
I think it was 2020.
2020. This is a show from 2020. If they're not talking about streaming and viral videos, like what is this gonna be? I do think that's the honest justification. That like the writers were like, oh, what's a current thing? Streaming? She live streams it.
What's a thing that's hip with the kiddos right now?
Mandy is a Twitch streamer.
She's a Twitch streamer.
You know, I'm also a Twitch streamer.
Yeah,
It wasn't
Shameless
a value
plug.
judgment. It was.
Yeah.
It was...
No, I know. It's just a shameless plug.
No, seriously, check out Zach's stream.
Yeah, check out Tech's streams.
Twitch.tv/progamerzach. The O is a 0. Okay, thanks. Bye. See you there. Anyways.
Do you want to do it slower as not a joke?
It's fine. They can slow it down.
If you want to catch that plug, play this episode back at half speed.
Play it back in twitch.tv/progamerzach. The O is a 0 because reasons. Anyways, there it is. It's slow.
Lola texts with her mom. Her first day is not going well. She has to bunk with JJ.
which is a fate worse than death, apparently.
Real shame about that one.
She kind of seems like the worst roommate ever.
Yep.
She sleepwalks, she sleep talks, and sometimes even occasionally she mentions that she sleep pees. Which, you know, fun times.
We also find out that Lola did not get any sleep because JJ sleep sings in Italian, a language she does not speak.
Italian opera.
Pavarotti ain't got shit on JJ.
Yeah. So Lola's first day is going great.
Yeah.
She goes to school and finds out, hey, this school in Florida doesn't have a girls' hockey team.
They do have a line about like, well, there aren't enough teenage girls in Florida to have a girls' hockey team, but there is a hockey. I don't want to discount the Florida-ness of it, but that's part of how this show is confusing because we heard there's no hockey team and we were like, well, I guess they don't play hockey in Florida. And then it's like, no, there is a boys hockey team, but there's no girls hockey team.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The standards for hockey in Florida are very low right now. Ignore the fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning just won the Stanley Cup. We're going to ignore that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I don't know enough about hockey in Florida to be making these statements. I just think it's weird that it's like, yeah, we have a boys hockey team, but a girls hockey team?
All I know is that Tampa Bay won the Stanley Cup.
What the heck?
So congrats to them. But yeah, Florida hockey, not really a big thing other than that one key exception.
I don't want to get into this argument with you. I'm just saying I think it's weird enough that it's like, well, we have a boys hockey team, but a girls hockey team, that would be crazy.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but yeah, I guess they don't have a girls hockey team and the Jets are upset.
Weirder though is the principal excuses Mandy completely from all her classes to do the sit-in at her house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And like all the students are on board as well.
Yep.
She says something about like civic responsibility or something, but no, this girl's just trying to get get a room for herself.
Yeah, she's just trying to get her own bedroom. It's not that deep.
No, this does not run so deep in the fabric of society.
But yeah, the one thing Lola really wanted does not exist.
Nope.
Whoops.
She fucked. So, she's not having fun. And they have the running motif of her texting her mom, like, I'm miserable here, boo-hoo.
Yeah, I also want to point out when she tells the Big Show, there's no girls hockey team. He goes, what? I assumed there would be.
Just...
like, that's his line.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what, man?
Fair,
I guess, but also check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not hard to check, Mr. Big Show.
I thought maybe they would end up saying that, like, oh, it's not ice hockey because it's Florida. It's like field hockey or something.
Yeah.
And she would be like, but I don't know how to play field hockey. But no, it's this.
It's
just
like
sexism.
he couldn't go to the website.
Yeah. But then I think next is there's a scene where he's Big Show's like, all right, don't worry, I can handle this. So he goes to the coach's office and is like, hey, let my daughter try out for the hockey team.
Well, it's also established that Lola did not want him to talk to the coach, but now he's going to talk with the coach.
Yeah.
The coach is very short, by the way.
I mean, to be fair, I think anyone looks short compared to the 7-foot-tall Big Show.
Yeah, but they hired a short actor and made some short jokes.
Yeah, he's
to
very short.
Heighten that. It wasn't just a normal guy. It was a shortman.
A shortman.
A shortman.
A shortman.
Yeah, well, when he sees how big the Big Show is, he says, what are you, 5'9"?
How do you look at him? That's just what everybody looks like to him, I guess.
That's the joke.
Yeah.
I'm making fun of the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my notes I have him, by the way, I've been referring into my notes, I've been referring to the Big Show as BS.
That is an unfortunate initial.
I guess you could say that match last night was BS.
Yeah.
Hey-oh. You did it funny. Yeah, it reminds me of like this other Netflix show that does the funny all the time.
House of Cards.
Yeah. House of Cards. I'm glad you butted in because I was running out of Netflix.
I feel like we need to give him a nickname. I'm fine calling him BS. But also, like maybe something like Jumbo Dad. Or like you flip it like Dad Jumbo,
Personally,
DJ.
I'm partial to Mr. Show.
There's Mr. Show. I think you were talking over me, so you missed my killer joke about calling him DJ for Dad Jumbo.
Ah, yes.
Yes, I like that.
There aren't any other characters we talk about called DJ, so that should not be confusing at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's not confusing at all.
I'm down with calling him DJ, Dad Jumbo. Dad, Jumbo.
Dad, Jumbo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, DJ hangs the coach on the wall because the coach won't put his daughter on the hockey team.
Well, no, specifically it's because he calls him double stuff.
That's true.
Yeah, I was gonna say the coach calls him double stuff.
Oh yeah, you're right. To be fair, the coach just makes not funny. Just the coach makes a joke about the Big Show.
The coach made fun of him.
You gotta hang him on a wall. At that
point, you have the right to beat the shit out of him off camera, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, after he hangs the coach up, the coach is gonna let Lola try out for the boys team. Woohoo! And Lola is very upset because
he succeeded.
because she didn't want the Big Show butting in.
Yeah, because it's really annoying, but
yeah,
I'd be embarrassed if my dad did that.
yeah, I'd be embarrassed too.
Yeah.
Mandy is freaking out because there are too many people on the sit-in and she wants them gone. And so they make a deal. Lola says, okay, if I get Mom and Dad to cave and give you the room, will you give me the room? And Mandy says, yes, I want these strangers out so badly that I will give you the room if you get them to leave, please.
I would also like to point out in this scene, JJ enters from like some random zip line from off screen that is not once mentioned ever again.
Zach, not some random zip line, the random zip line.
Yes, she just comes in on a zip line and it's never mentioned. Like, it's just a normal thing apparently.
That's the tension of JJ. It feels like JJ having a zip line to a
Why is there a zip line on this? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm heated about this. Why is this a normal thing? Why does no one mention it at all? Not even Lola, who's like new, and I'm guessing like maybe hasn't been to like the house in Tampa for a while. Yeah. Because like there's later a picture of like her and her dad, but she's like a little girl. She's like a lot younger. She's like, she doesn't even mention at all. Like, hey JJ, why do you have this zip line that goes onto the roof of our house? Anyway,
the Big Show is a wealthy, prominent man, and JJ's a weird kid. I assumed that JJ has like a treehouse or something, and there's a zip line to the treehouse. I've seen weirder things.
They just didn't have it, and they just didn't have enough money in the budget to
show it,
or to show Big Show actually beating someone up and being a wrestler.
Yeah. But it's that tension in JJ that like JJ coming in on a zip line feels like, oh, wacky, cool kid. But it's like, but no, you've established her persona is crime. Which is better. I feel like kid who is a criminal is much funnier to me than kid who's wacky and cool.
Yeah. There's a line at the end where like they all go in for like the three sisters go in for like a group hug.
Yep.
And then Lola's like, hey JJ, put my wallet back in my pocket.
That's adorable.
And she's like, what do you mean? You know I had to try.
Yeah, again, this is the exact same joke as Bender. This is the joke with Bender. Bender likes to steal things.
So we have someone who is into crime, and then we have someone who's very dramatic, and we have someone who's very tough. I feel like maybe outside of the crime thing, this is supposed to be like channeling different aspects of the Big Show.
Yeah, it was very well thought out in that way.
That Big Show committing crimes.
Committing crimes.
I was trying to make that work with my analysis, but I couldn't really think of a way to
Big Show in Florida. What crimes will he commit?
Oh, we don't know. Maybe we never do find out what he's been doing ever since.
I would watch that show.
I'd imagine if the Big Show did a crime, it would be like not like assault or anything. That's like too obvious. I think it would be like tax evasion.
Yeah, of course.
He's very rich.
Of course.
Tax evasion.
He's a wealthy man. Of course he's doing tax evasion.
And jaywalking.
Yes. Some real white collar shit.
Anyway, it's Lola's tryout. I couldn't tell exactly what was going wrong specifically, but it was going poorly.
Everything was going wrong. I think it was like, oh, they're not treating her like one of the guys. They're treating her differently because she's a girl.
I think that's what it is, and the solution to the issue treats it like that, but I feel like the setup could be clearer.
Yeah, like the one clip they show of her during the tryout is her scoring a goal. So it seems like it's going pretty well, but then the Big Show's like, oh man, this isn't going well at all.
But was it her scoring a goal, or did like the guy who scored the goal refuse it to pass it to her? Or something like that?
Well, the thing is, I'm saying this is, I think, a failing on the episode's part. I think it's unclear exactly what's going on.
Well, I mean, she also still doesn't have her clothes yet. By the way, I don't know if we even mentioned this. Her luggage hasn't arrived yet.
That's true.
It's kind of like a running joke that we just completely neglected to mention, is that her luggage is just doesn't show up. And for like most of the episode, because like she came from Minnesota, so she's wearing like winter clothes. And not until like the very end of the episode do they suggest buying new clothes.
This is true. It's my mind immediately went there, and it isn't till the end of the episode that they're like, right, the mall.
Yeah.
I did write down the line, there aren't ghosts, there is a ghost.
Yes. It's a callback to the ghost thing from earlier.
Yes. The Big Show has a line where he's seeing his daughter struggle, and he says, you know, if she wants to do this her way, then I've got to do it my way, which doesn't make sense because she didn't want you doing it your way. That was the thing. Her way was without you.
We have an episode where our title character learns nothing, forces his way of doing things on his daughter, and is very weird.
I guess the whole thing is like, I don't know how to be a dad to Lola, and then he's like, I guess I am a dad to Lola, and that's his arc this episode. Because he offers the solution, which is he goes down on the ice and says basically like, you know, knock me down to gain the respect of your peers.
He's like, hey, check me, like hit me with a body check so that they know that like you can do this. So like, oh, if you take down this like fucking giant of a man, they'll respect you. And then she initially disagrees, but eventually she goes for it.
Well, she disagrees, and he says like, what are you, chicken? And then she tackles him.
So they both have the main character flaw of Marty McFly.
Yeah, also want to mention this. He asks her to, like, body check him in hockey, which is like you put your shoulder down and, like, ram into somebody. She tackles him. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I don't know much about hockey, but that feels like an illegal move.
Probably, yeah.
Zach, to be fair, I think when a man is that big, all the rules go out the window.
That is also entirely fair.
Yeah, Lola gets their parents to cave, which is basically Lola says, Mandy, you can have the room. And the parents are like, I guess that's solved.
Yeah, they're like, okay, Mandy can have the room. And then Mandy's
like, so Lola, you can have the room. And they're like, okay. And then they're like, okay, get rid of the people. And it's only now that I'm like, wait, this is so dumb.
Yeah.
What it should have been is Lola going, if I get rid of all the people in your room, you'll give the room to me. And Mandy would go, yes. And then Lola does something to get rid of them. And Mandy's like, okay, Lola, you can have the room. Instead, Lola says, Mandy, you can have the room. And Mandy says, okay, Lola, now you can have the room. Dad, can you get these people out? And that's what happens.
The one thing that I can think of that maybe like kind of makes sense is that Mandy's just too invested in the status of her political movement that she doesn't want to cave. She wants to be the one who wins.
That they established.
So like maybe, but it's still like very weird. She's like, all right, Mandy, you win, you can have the room. Okay, now that I can have the room, you can have the room. That is what they said,
like, but
what?
It's very weird.
I contend it should have been, Mandy, if I can get rid of all the people at the sit-in, will you give me your room?
That would have been good.
Yeah.
That would have been better. That would have been better. But instead, the Big Show comes in and yells at all these children, and they leave.
I really believe there was a missed opportunity for the Big Show to just knockout punch one of the children.
He just lifts them up and pile drives each and every one of them.
Puts one in like a choke slam.
Well, again, this is in our theme of he's not as much a wrestler in this as he is a big man. So he comes in and says, I'm so big, get out, everybody.
I expected him to say something like, I still got it, after he yells at them and they leave the room, but he says some other generic phrase that I can't think of.
I think he was like, "Oh, I'm glad that I'm finally able to help," or something
it feels
like
good
that.
to help, or something like that. Or
Yeah.
And then
they have dinner. The Mrs. Show says, hey, before we eat, we do our family ritual of saying, what's the best thing that happened to us today? And Mandy says that she's going to run for president of the lower school.
Mm-hmm.
And JJ is going to rig the election.
Yay.
And the Big Show says, I was impeached as lower school president.
Yeah, that's like a throwaway line that's like also not. It's like the last line in the show because then it like fades to like music or whatever, and they're all eating, and it's just like, okay, you can't just leave it with that and then not.
What did he do?
Yeah, I just want to know. Yeah,
what did he do?
How do you get impeached as a lower school president?
What did kids get in trouble for at elementary school? Maybe he like didn't bring brownies on his birthday. Because he didn't want brownies, but you gotta give everybody else brownies on your birthday.
Yeah, he had enough. He brought brownies for his birthday, but he only had enough for everybody in the class except for one kid, and that one kid got like really mad because if you bring in food, you got to bring in enough for everybody.
Yeah. And so they impeached him, but the lower school senate did not remove him from office.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're cowards.
Because
they're cowards.
And then they impeached him a second time, and they still didn't remove him.
And then by that point, he had already moved on to the upper school.
Yes.
Which goes to show, you should have just convicted. You should have
convicted him the first time.
This is about sitcoms, not politics.
Yeah, and on that note, we're gonna transition over to our favorite segment. At least my favorite segment. I don't know about you guys.
I love it.
Yeah, it's time
Weekly
for
segment, regular segment. You know what it's going to be.
Exactly. It's time for Big Boy of the Week.
Woo! All right. So just to reestablish the rules, bigness is, of course, an abstract sort of word. Obviously, if we were judging it on like physical bigness, the Big Show would win every time. But we're talking about like mental bigness, personality bigness.
Much like, say, if we were a podcast that gave out Sad Boy of the Week every week.
Mm-hmm.
Sadness is more of an abstract concept rather than who is the most sad.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is bigness in terms of it could be size, but also personality.
Right.
In terms of role in the episode, importance in the universe, maybe.
That's right. Also, that Sad Boy of the Week idea, that sounds really cool. Maybe we can, if we ever do like another series, maybe we'll incorporate that into it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So who are our nominees for Big Boy of the Week?
I have 3 nominees in mind.
Okay.
I've got 2 in mind, but I assume some of them will overlap.
Yeah. First off, though bigness is more than a physical trait.
The Big Show.
The Big Show.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, the Big Show.
The Big Show, of course.
He's a big boy.
Of course.
And that's kind of his thing.
Yeah.
Secondly, JJ.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
JJ is a pretty big personality.
Yes.
Oh, I agree.
And thirdly, I think the coach is though he is a small man, he's kind of got a big personality.
I
Also true.
He immediately upon meeting the Big Show goes like, double stuff? I don't care that you're twice the size of me.
I am willing to
Which is
insult
like
you.
big words for a high school PE teacher.
Yeah.
Big words. He's got big words.
I see what I did there.
My other nomination, who you didn't say, was going to be Mandy, because she accomplishes so much.
She accomplishes a political takeover of her own house.
She is not the wackiest or craziest of the sisters, but she is the boldest. And I think that should be
She starts a political movement, and it gets pretty big.
Yeah. What party is she? The single room party?
Libertarian. No question.
Do I need to like run through cases? Because it's not as much.
I think the cases are fairly straightforward this time around.
Cases are fairly straightforward. We've kind of talked about the cases a little bit.
Yeah, okay. who do you guys want to vote for? Because I don't know. I feel like I might have an idea.
I think maybe JJ. JJ felt like the air quotes biggest character to me.
Yeah.
You're going with JJ. I kind of wanted to give a vote to Mr. Show himself because I feel like, I feel like there's a good case to make. I mean, of course, we don't always mean just size, but that is something we have to take into account. Yeah. He's 7 foot tall instead of like 4 foot tall.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like, he has a lot of moments. He has his moments in the show where he's just trying to help, but he's just a big bumbling idiot.
This is true.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to vote JJ, that's fine with me.
I just meant in terms of JJ is so small, but she takes up so much space and room in the episode despite nothing being about her.
Yes.
She's a really big personality. And again, even though nothing in this episode is about her, she manages to dominate a lot of the episodes. I think she's my big boy of the week.
She's my big boy too.
Yeah. All right. That's fine. I'm being outvoted here, but that's fine with me.
All right.
So JJ is our big boy of the week.
Congratulations, JJ. However many episodes we're into the Big Show. Winner of Sad Boy of the Week, Return to the Pilot.
Big boy of the week.
Big boy of the week. Why did you
say
Sad Boy of the Week?
Was our example one that we're doing for in the future, maybe for some other show.
I was stuck on your hypothetical example, Mark.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. But all right. Well, on that note, that's gonna do it for another episode of the Big Show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Fullest House Pod, and like our Facebook page as well. Once again, I'm Zach Horowitz.
I'm Mark Greene.
And I'm Harrison Bloom.
And until next time, may your shows be big, and may the hustle never stop. Oh, and by the way, April Fool's. It's also April Fool's Day, so April Fool's.
Listen to your heart now. Don't you feel the
Show.